I motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I second.
I'd like to make an adjustment on an updated document on C19.
Do the makers of the motion agree in the second?
Yes.
Okay, seeing that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Public comment, we have one that would like to speak. Corbin, if you would like to join us up there. Please state your full name and address for the record, please.
Corbin Costers, 1604 West News Road, Othello. Basically, I'm here to speak about Can you hear me good?
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm here to speak about safety in our schools. I mean, quick overview, my youngest daughter, Bella, has been choked at school. She's been dry humped on a slide, punched in the eye, and basically every time the cameras have not worked, all on the playground. So I went in the last time when she got a broken leg there, we reviewed the cameras, and basically what I could see is a bunch of blurry images on the camera that looked to me like if someone was to steal a kid at our school or anything else, we couldn't make out who it is. It's that bad. And this is Hiawatha's cameras. I'm assuming the rest of the schools are like that. I think this is something that needs to be addressed urgently. The safety of our children. It's to the point now where they look at the cameras and say, oh, well, either this one wasn't working, which we've been told 3 times on different events, or, well, we can't make it out on the camera. I'm not blaming the staff for that. I'm blaming our school district in general, that we're not taking things serious enough to take care of our children. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Corbin.
Okay, unless you have one. Yep.
I appreciate Corbin coming this evening. He and I chatted last week for probably about an hour or so and had a good conversation about his expertise and experience with cameras and really what the school district uses them for and how they operate and whatnot. And so we closed the loop on a couple of things, but also had agreed that maybe it would be a good opportunity for him to come before the board. I know we typically don't respond to folks who provide public comment, but I did want to let him know, since he took the time tonight and everybody else watching, that at the next board meeting we had scheduled to provide a safety update about processes and systems across the district, and we'll certainly include a component around the camera piece, and so I'd encourage him to listen and attend if possible, and others as well. So thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you. Now it's time for recognition.
I'd like to invite Ed Peterson forward, and we'll introduce our group that we'd like to recognize tonight, a group of students from Othello High School.
I'm going to invite Mrs. Terry Perez up. I don't know if you all know her. She's our FBLA advisor at the high school, and they've had quite a bit of success this year. They've done really well. They recently competed in state with more than 2,000 students from across the state in Spokane and a bunch of different categories, and had a great time. So she's going to tell you about her students, and then they'll tell you a little bit about themselves.
First of all, I can't take credit for being the only advisor, so we also have Kathy Van Landingham and Angela Kutsk as well. So we share those duties. I'm actually going to hand it over to Melissa Sanchez. She's one of our senior FBLA students, and she's going to describe what we've been doing. But we have more than 20 members in our FBLA club, 17 of whom competed at our state competition. So we're pretty excited that our club is growing.
Thank you. So let me give you a brief description of what FBLA is. So it is a high school club that is meant to prepare students for a career in business in their future. Some of the ways this club does this is by allowing students the opportunity to compete in events, run fundraisers, and get involved in community service projects. Some of the events we compete in is sales presentation, partnership with the business, and impromptu speaking. The way we prepare for these events is by every Monday going to work nights, which are from 6:30 to 7:30, and there we design presentations, write speeches in order to practice for these competitions. The way the competitions work is we get there and we present our project to a panel of judges and they give us a score. We did this for regional competition and state competition, and this year 4 of our events placed top 10 at state competition. Now, in order to attend these events, we do have to fundraise money. So this year we sold poinsettias during Valentine's and Christmas. We also sold t-shirts showing off our Husky Pride. And we partnered up with the Cowpath Bakery to sell cinnamon rolls and coffee grounds. Another thing we did was volunteer at the Rotary food booth during the Sandhill Crane Festival, and we also volunteered as servers for the Chamber of Commerce banquet. Now, although our club is mostly about business, we do like to stay involved in the community and run a few community service projects. One of the ones we run annually is Bags of Blessing. For this project, we go up to houses, leave a note with a bag, asking the homeowners to donate canned foods, gently used jackets, or whatever else they have at their home. And we collect all this at the end and get donated to the fire department for the Christmas baskets that we do here. We also volunteered at the Chamber of Commerce to assist the president there with any office tasks she needed us to do, like sorting files or making copies or anything like that. Do you have any questions about it?
No, I just want to be like you when I grow up. Like, you're incredible. Wow. You're an incredible young lady that you just spouted all that off. No wonder you've been so successful in your club. Like, congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
We're just very proud that every club is just growing and growing. The kids are getting involved, and look at how nice you guys look. Oh my gosh. Business, like I just think it's so great, and what wonderful advisors you have. They put a lot of time and effort to make you guys so successful. So congratulations to all of you, and I think we will see you all in the future doing great things.
So I'm the chamber president this year, and for our banquet in February, we got nothing but good remarks from the FBLA club, and the community was really, really happy and proud of your guys' service and how you guys did that night. So we really appreciated your help because it's definitely an event that we need help with. So we were really appreciative of that. But Marcella did mention how grateful she was that to have, you know, some students come in after school, help in the office, because that job can be definitely a tough one. And so just having a little bit of admin help is always appreciated. So thank you for that.
Yep, of course.
I think this experience for you guys is really amazing, and working together with your advisors, that's going to give you invaluable experiences as you move through life. I wish I'd had something like this when I was younger, to make when you have to have public speaking or you have to have something be a little bit more natural when you're an adult. And I just think you guys are doing an amazing job, and your advisors obviously are doing an amazing job mentoring you as well, with how well you did at state. We're just very, very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
I just really appreciate the time that everybody puts into this. And I could tell you're very comfortable at public speaking. It's something that I never had a good skill for, and it's difficult sometimes. I look forward to seeing you all back next year, and with all your great accomplishments that you're going to achieve in the next year. Thank you very much.
Yep.
You're not as eager to come get the picture taken.
Yes.
love that they're dressed up.
They make us look bad and we're at a business meeting.
We're gonna take about 1 million. I wanna make sure I get along before. He's always
Yes. They, I know.
Under the next board member discussion, I don't have a legislative report ready, but I would like to take this time. This week is National Teacher Appreciation Week, and I'd just like to take this time to say thank you to all those teachers out there. We really appreciate the work that you do and beyond the call that we ask you. There's a lot of teachers that put a lot of time out there, use a lot of their own time and stuff to do their jobs. It's all for the kids, and we do have a lot of great teachers in this community. I want to thank you to also the district staff for what we're doing for the teachers this week, and your leadership team. Serving all of them lunch this week. It was a great pleasure for me to be at the junior high today, and we'll be serving lunch throughout the rest of the week to them. And it's just a lot of fun to get out there and talk to them and let them know how much we're supporting them. So, is there any other board member discussion?
I may have missed it, but do we have a location for Thursday?
Yeah, we'll be having the retreat here at the district office.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, with that, we'll go on to student representative reports.
Okay, so this week will be a very, very busy week. We have ESPA testing coming up tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. And unfortunately, as a 10th grader, I have to take all of them. I get no 3-hour late starts, but it's okay. This weekend is also prom and track districts on the 13th. It's home, so we need volunteers. Volunteers would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, you get a free shirt out of volunteering too, so woohoo. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, with that, we will go to C1, required approvals. Do I hear a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'm second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Superintendent informational items.
Yeah, just one item this evening as we prepare for the presentation from DOHS. It's around an activity that we're calling Outdoor Camp, Outdoor School. And so in front of you, you'll have a flyer that we put together to invite students to participate in this activity. And it's driven by House Bill 2078 that was approved last legislative session last year. And what the state did behind that legislation is to offer competitive grants for school districts to compete for funding to offer outdoor activities for students, building on the research that being involved in outdoor educational activities, you're more likely to graduate, more likely to feel connected to school, stronger relationships with peers, all those things that come from being involved in the outdoors. So in June, right after school gets out, we'll be offering a week-long experience for students to sign up and participate in a number of activities. I just wanted to let the board know and the community know that that's being launched. Wanted to thank Assistant Superintendent Jessica Schenk and Paul Auersland, our STEM director, for applying for the grant and for securing the funds for the district so that we could provide these opportunities for our students. But it's something new in the district and new in the community. It's my understanding that Paul Auersland also used a portion of the funds to organize and provide the STEAM night that occurred last week. It was really our first attempt at that kind of activity. Some really good feedback on how to improve it and enhance it and maybe time it a little bit differently next year. But again, those funds that came through from the state from that competitive grant, all used to have kids have some new experiences in our community. So just wanted you to be aware of that.
And further details as far as like times and things like that is in the registration link. Just
Right,
go
all
to
that
that?
information will
Okay.
be in there. But I guess I would encourage folks that are listening to make sure you talk with your teacher. Take a look at that flyer, and if you have questions, you could interact through talking points, or certainly reach out to Paul Auersland here at the district office, and we'll provide that information for folks.
perfect.
Does this have any limit on it? How many candidates could it?
Yeah, it was certainly it'll be limited by the capacity of the facility, the number of staff that we can hire, and those kinds of things. But just like STEAM Night, we want to see what kind of buzz it generates, how many people want to come participate, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so encourage parents to register early then.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just want to congratulate Paul and give him some kudos because it was a fun night, that STEAM night, and it's great to see the kids out there just enjoying everything and all the teachers and staff that volunteered because it was fun for them.
Okay, under policy review, we don't have any right now, but I think we still had some policies that were.
We
still to
have
come
the
up. So
I'll touch on that now, Ken, and then we can
Okay.
jump back to item D about organizational performance. But in policy review, what you're going to begin to see are the 5,000 series around personnel. We wanted to take an extra layer around those with our current district policies and practices, our collective bargaining agreements with OEA and PSE. So Sandra Villarreal and her team are looking through the WASDA recommendations. We want to make sure we go through them before we bring them to you, even though we know WASDA's gone through them. They haven't gone through them and compared them to what's current contract language. So those will come at you in the coming weeks in batches that after we've gone through them.
sorry about that. I hit jump forward on this and
Yeah, no
jumped the
worries.
whole page.
Principal Tover, I thought he got off easy
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah. Now we'll go to Desert Oasis.
Okay, good evening to all of you guys. Yeah, I was almost lucky there. Okay, so tonight I have a presentation for you guys, but before anything, I want to thank my staff, some of my staff members that are here today, and I also want to thank all of my staff from Desert Oasis High School. In honor of National Teacher Appreciation Week, we also are appreciating and honoring our teachers as well, because we know that without them, we don't have Desert Oasis High School. So I'm going to start this presentation, and I was going to do a few things where should I stand? Is this fine right here? I was going to do a few things different today, a little outside the box, but my singer got sore throat and my student got cold feet. So it's okay. I asked my staff if they wanted to sing in place of him, but they didn't want to do that. So, all right. Either way, we're going to go through our presentation. I'm going to do a few things that are a little different. But I want to start off with our vision, obviously, to empower students to find their own pathway to success through diverse learning opportunities. And that's what we try to provide at our school. Obviously, it's to foster, our mission is to foster growth and relationships through trust, compassion, and our relationship building with them. So first and foremost, by the end of this evening, I'm going to go kind of quick, just so that we can get you guys out of here. But I want you guys, as well as the community that's online, to have a better understanding of what Desert Oasis High School is, because I know that after I met with some of you, and I know some of you guys are new to the board, But I know that after our meeting and your visit, you had a better understanding of what we kind of do at our school. So it is a traditional high school, but it's a little different. So obviously, if you guys look at my slides here, I would like to stand up here and tell you about homecoming and about prom and about all different types of things, but that's not us. Our main focus is to get kids caught up and to get them to graduate. However, we always thank our local comprehensive high school, Othello High School, for allowing us to be a part of all of their activities, from sporting events to prom as well. So what are we? Obviously, Desert Oasis High School, this is what we're made out of. We have a day program as well as an alternative learning program. And a lot of people don't know the difference between the two. An alternative learning program is a flexible program. The majority of the work is done through online classes through a program called Odysseyware, but it enables kids who are students who are parents, students who are working full-time, or students who just don't fit within the traditional school day, but this allows them to be able to still get their education and move towards graduation. On the left-hand side, we have our traditional program, which is 5 periods, just like the high school. They take 5 classes in each of their content areas, and all of this is rooted on the very bottom through social-emotional learning. This kind of lives at the bottom of everything we do. Kids are going through a lot of stuff at every school, and we kind of highlight that at our school. And we know that without kind of fueling or helping with the foundation, nothing's going to be possible. So this is what our student enrollment has looked like in the past. Obviously, from 2019, we've grown from 87 students to currently we're at 134 students as of the last count at our trimesters. We have 1 content teacher in every area, as well as 1 parapro, a full-time counselor, our cook, our custodian, and average, obviously, educational experience for our staff at our school right now is 4.9. So I appreciate every single one of my staff members. All right, so what does this look like? Most of our students, as you can see on the diagram, are juniors and seniors. Why? Because we got to get them to graduate. So when they come over to our school, we're focused on one thing, and that's get them the classes that they need, but also provide them with the opportunity that they may not have had in the past, or some of these kiddos were thinking about walking away from education entirely until they came over, and our goal is to convince them not to. We do have an increase in freshmen. We usually try to start the year with less than 5, and right now we have 16 freshmen, and we have 17 sophomores in our school. Here's kind of the breakdown of our program. As I mentioned, I have 134 students in our school. 44 of these kiddos are on the ALE program, so they have that flexible schedule, and 90 of our students are full-time. And we do have the night school component, but it's also the day school, so we kind of put them all together. So again, we like to think of it as two different programs within one school. So what I'm going to be talking about with you guys this evening is I want to hit on the priorities, OSD priorities, which are multilingual students, professional learning communities, as well as feedback. But I also want to talk to you guys about our OSSI school improvement goals, which focus around math growth, attendance, and as well as credit recovery, which is outside the traditional day. And then I'm going to share some data with you guys, as I do every year, about grad rates, SBA, WIDA, assessment, STAR, and attendance. Trust me, some of that attendance, I wish I wasn't sharing it, but I want to be transparent in my presentation to be able to share the good as well as the not so good. So to begin with, relevant to the OSD priorities, multilingual students, what are we doing? Well, we've formed a committee, and we're part of the steering committee at our school with several of my staff members, and we're meeting tomorrow. But our main goal is to learn more about the WIDA assessment, learn how to service our students in a way that better prepares them for the WIDA assessment. This was only the 2nd year that we took it. We already took our assessment. On a side note, we took all of our assessments kind of early this year for specific reasons, and we're waiting for our data back on some of that as well. But we also, we've been part of the PLC with Othello High School. We've also been attending professional learning communities with Mrs. Kelly Ramirez, which is focused on student discourse. It's an avid strategy that both Desert Oasis High School as well as Othello High School teachers have been working on. And what our main push for next year is to start working on our multilingual intervention plan for next year. Several years ago, when I was at the middle school, we did a big intervention for ELL students. We want to do something similar to that, but it's a big focus on preparing our students for the WIDA assessment, but more than anything, getting them more fluent in the English language in the areas of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Professional learning communities, We've been collaborating both as myself as an administrator as well as my teachers with Othello High School teachers, but we've also had our own professional learning communities where we're kind of scaffolding and focusing on specific things in our professional learning communities. I also rely heavily on Mrs. Denise Colley, which I get to utilize her a couple hours a week, or at least 1 hour a week. She's the instructional coach at McFarland Middle School, but she helps us a ton with unpacking standards and learning more about standards, because again, we're all moving towards standards-based grading eventually. And we've also started a school improvement committee this year, and it's a voluntary committee within our own school. And our main focus is reviewing the data, CEE data, also looking at kind of how we can improve our school, but also we're focusing on a book study this year called Street Data, which it's a really good read. I won't go into the details of it. I know our district's going to be moving maybe in that direction, but it's a really good read, guys. Feedback is also another area that we're focusing on. At my school, I believe I have 93 walks, but it's not really about the quantity for me. It's always about just like giving feedback that's going to grow my teachers. And I constantly tell my teachers, I'm a coach, and I'm trying to coach you guys up so we can be the best versions of ourselves and we can impact student learning. We also focused on turning in lesson plans this year, and it's what's the benefit? The benefit is for teachers to know kind of like the direction that they're going for that week, but it's also for me, so that whether I'm in the classroom or not, I know what they're teaching in science classes or in math classes, social studies classes. So when I walk in there, I already know what to expect and I know what direction they're going in. So again, this is kind of our focus areas, multilingual learners, professional learning committees, and feedback. This is relevant to us pushing towards the vision of our entire school district. Now in the area of our school improvement, our OSSI goal, first of all, we're on a school improvement because of our graduation rates. We were really close to exiting this last year. We were 4 points away, 67% I believe is exiting, and we were at 63% graduation rate. And a lot of that is attributed to the GRU waiver, as well as extra effort from our counselor and our teachers, as well as our students, to move towards graduating. But what our school improvement goals focus on is 3 different things. Number 1 is attendance. Why? That's always our Achilles. If they don't show up, we really can't do anything for them. So that's our biggest battle. My goal is to improve by 5% from one trimester to the next. Obviously, you'll see some data here in the next few slides where we kind of went backwards. We went from 82 to 80 this last trimester, but we're hoping to move up the 5%. Again, this is not a goal that's easy. This is a goal it's challenging for us and our staff. What have we done to improve in these areas? Well, we've increased our elective offerings, and in that parentheses you can see like classes that haven't been taught in the past that are currently taught are guitar, robotics, journalism, tier 2 reading, graphic novels, Latin America culture, computer applications, and I apologize to my teachers if I missed any of them. But these are things that we're thinking, hey, let's increase our offerings and maybe they'll be more interested in coming on a daily basis. The students do enjoy these classes, but they still find it difficult to show up every day. We've also done student recognition assemblies, and one of my staff members said they had a great idea. They said, hey, why not bring in the parents for this event? Well, we did that, and what we're finding is we don't have enough seating for them. So it's been a really great thing, and a lot of parents, the feedback from the parents has been, we haven't come to an assembly since elementary school. So we have parents showing up with flowers and balloons, and they take pictures afterwards. So it's a really big thing. So it's a great suggestion by one of my staff members. I wish I could remember who it was so I can give them credit, but it wasn't me. So we also have our bilingual engagement nights, which are parent engagement nights. We focus on doing 1 per month, and we just did our last one. We had Mr. Pernetta came over to barbecue some meat for us, and it was very well attended. And we cover broad topics that basically educate parents on different things like credits, how the grade system works, Skyward, how that system works. Absences is a big focus item for us, so those are our focus. We also continued our community engagement board hearings. This is an intervention. A lot of people think this is a bad thing. It's an intervention to try to avoid going to court in Ritzville. If a student's not coming to school, they come to this room right here. We set up a whole court hearing with several community members who are always here, like Mr. Jesse Campos, Adams County Juvenile Court, Adams County Integrated Health. They're here on a regular basis to help us, so I appreciate each and every one of them. But we're here to try to convince the student and the parent that coming to school is important. They come here a couple times before we decide whether we move forward with the formal BECA petition. It's a truancy petition to go to Ritzville or not. We try to avoid Ritzville as much as possible. Our second goal is around math. Our goal in the area of math is that we're always moving kids forward, that we always have more and more students passing our state assessment. Historically, Desert Oasis High School students have not been able to pass the state assessment. Last year we had one, and I've seen preliminary data that I'm not going to mention at this time that shows that we've improved. So that's all I can say at this time, but I appreciate all the efforts of our math teacher, as well as all teachers that are moving towards helping these kids through diverse methods of just staying after school, night school, anything we can do to help our students. One of the big things that we did this year is we kind of took out Algebra 2 and we put in Math Bridges, which is basically an alternative to Algebra 2. And what we're finding, OSPI asked me the other day, hey, do you find that more kids pass Bridges math than Algebra 2? Yes, at our school they do. Why? I don't know, but it is very standards-based aligned, but they are having more success with that. And as a side note, we also did that for English 12. We have English Bridges as well, and we're having huge success. And even if a student fails the class, they can continue after the trimester is over to improve in the standards that they didn't pass until they show competency of it, and then we do a change of grade. Credit accrual, we are always trying to earn extra credit through our online courses. We have kids that come to school full-time, and then they have a couple classes online. But the majority of our kids, they're working from home, they're working in part-time in school, part-time at home, and they're earning as many credits as they can. And I know you guys have been to our school, and all those gold plates in the back of Mrs. Mendoza's classroom and her hallway represent classes that students have earned. It has been a humongous, we take a lot of pride in the fact that kids are able to earn credit outside the traditional school day. So the more that credit that's earned, the closer kids get to graduation. Mr. Perez.
I just wanted to add a point of clarity particularly for perhaps Director Camp around OSSI. So OSSI is the Office of School and System Improvement. And how a school might end up on that list, really it's you've been identified as needing improvement. Particularly at the high school, it's very interesting. It's typically on grad rate. And most of our students that go to Desert Oasis High School are going there because they're credit deficient. They're not online to graduate. So you wouldn't be surprised that the state would say, you need to get better in that area. What I think we've really figured out the last couple of years is those funds and that identification that comes with that, as long as your community understands that being identified in improvement, those are the factors. Like, we're not surprised by that. But when we have folks who use the funds to continue to focus on the things they've been doing that have been successful, we gladly take the funding. We go through a couple of the reports, we fill that out, as long as we stay focused on what we have before. But there are times and in some communities where being identified as in improvement means that school's not doing good work. That's not always the case, and it's certainly not the case at DOHS.
Thank you. And as I previously mentioned, we almost exited school improvement this year. So again, as a side note for the community, I know that oftentimes Desert Oasis High School is referred to the school where the bad kids go. We're not naive of that. I just want to reemphasize what Mr. Perez said. No, we have quality kids. They just fallen behind, mostly because of COVID, but and then academics obviously is another issue there. You're going to see a couple images that are coming up on what we use that OSSI funds with. So we take that money and we try to maximize our dollar, obviously, so that we can get our biggest bang for our buck. So again, last thing I want to mention about credit accrual and how we are having success with our students is meeting with them frequently, whether it's myself, my counselor, and their parent, or just the student, and a lot of home visits. That's kind of how we have success with kids. I'm gonna go through these pictures, about 14 pictures. I included them. I normally don't even put them into the middle of this presentation. I'm just gonna go through with them. This is an example of guitar class. Obviously, we don't have guitars without OSSI funds, right? Fine arts, we've been able to do a lot of different things with fine arts. This was a project that was done that benefited the, the senior center, the Coventry home. And Ms. Garza and Ms. Mendoza were able to deliver these projects that our kids did. Robotics, we don't have robotics without OSSI funds. It was over $10,000 to get these kits in here. So thank you to Mr. Auersland and everyone that made this possible. And Mrs. Parrish has the luxury of teaching this. And talk about classroom management or lack of. There's no classroom management issues here. It's everybody's engaged on this one. The kids really enjoy it. Again, several pictures of robotics. Another fine arts. examples that we have. One of the things we have is an open door policy for our parents. This young man here, this parent is he was kind of a staff member here for a long time. He visited school every day, all the classes, and one primary, not every day, but the kids want to work out, so we open it up for them and they're working out. All of the equipment along that wall there, it was all purchased with OSSI money. We had to fight them, and we got denied a few times, but we won. And we got all that equipment. It's the first time we ever had cardio equipment in our building. So computer applications, all those laptops that these students are using, they were all purchased with the help of Mrs. Parrish through CTE funding and Mrs. Davis's collaboration with Rigo's help, Rigo Zuna. Family engagement night, that's an examples of what it looks like at our school on these evenings. Again, student recognition assemblies. We just wanted to give you guys an image of the work that we're doing and provide you guys with a better image. So that young man on the bottom left-hand corner, that was our singer for tonight. But again, we hope he gets better. His throat's sore. He's been singing a lot lately. So again, family engagement nights, we try to do hands-on activities. I also want to thank Dr. Perez because he's been a part of these on several occasions. So we appreciate all of our families for even coming. College field trips, you'll see the trip to Eastern. You won't see any pictures to Central because they just went last week, and they're going to Big Bend Community College tomorrow for a career fair. So Ms. Tovar is going to be taking some students there. Now, really quickly, data points that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to talk about these, and I'm going to go rather quickly. First one, graduation rate. What I want to show you guys is that's where we were at. We've come up. We'll see what it looks like this year for us, because again, this is 4-year graduation rate. We expect it to be along the same line.
Principal Tovar, could
Yep.
you go back to that slide for a second? Because I think it's interesting for those of us who have been in the system for over 10 years looking at this data. I think it's the evolution of Desert Oasis High School and secondary education in Othello in particular. Because in 2014-15, in those first few years there, really the model was you go to DOHS and then you go back to the high school. That was the goal, go back. So the kids that did go back, guess what they did? They graduated from Othello High School. The kids that didn't go back, they didn't graduate from anywhere. Then we sort of moved to this idea about, well, let's get the schools to cooperate. Kids can go back and forth. We'll share a couple classes. That worked for a little bit. I think where we're at now is really important to acknowledge that there's a strong partnership and professional learning community between both schools. But the goal is really that a kid would go there, find success, and stay there. And we're able to offer more electives. We're able to offer more opportunities. And so I would hope that we continue to see that graduation rate maintain or continue to move up, because the goal now is to go to DOHS, to graduate from there, to make sure you get your credit requirements met, and move on. So I think some of the system changes that have occurred over the last 10 years, there's been some bumps along the way, but I think that that's part of the reason that we're at the spot that we are now.
Thank you. I think we're averaging about 2 to 3 students that go back to OHS because they've earned their way back. And we encourage it if that's what they want. And what we're finding most of the times when kids want to go back, it's the families. They like the big ceremony at the end of the school year. But one of the things that Dr. Perez has done, he's opened the door to, if you've earned the requirements required by OHS, you can graduate in either ceremony, even if you were at Desert Oasis High School. So that's really helped our kids and our families as well. So what you see on this slide is that most of our students graduate in 5 years versus 4 years. And that's kind of been the pattern traditionally. As you can see, 78% graduate in 5 years. We don't discourage graduating in 5 years. We discourage dropping out. We just want them to graduate. And we constantly tell kids, it's not a race. It's just, let's just get there. We're going to be okay. So keeping that at the forefront of our kids really helps them feel better. This is historical data of the Smarter Balance Assessment. Obviously, math was less than 7%. As I mentioned, we had one student, he was the first one that we've had pass the assessment at the grade level. ELA 14.6, that's just looking at sophomores. Obviously, if you look at all the kids that we assessed last year, we were in the 40s for passing that. Science, we did take a decrease last year. We were at 11.1%. So again, as I mentioned, we're waiting on data to see how we did this next year. ELPA / the Whedon assessment, this is historical data there. We average about pretty close to 50% of our kids are ELL students at our school at any given month. it's something that it's just the way it works out, and we welcome that, and we're constantly looking for strategies on how to help students. The one thing that we're focusing on, as mentioned previously, is learning more about the WIDA assessment so that we can provide interventions to better prepare students to pass that assessment. Last year, we had 2 out of the 50 students that tested that were able to pass the WIDA. I think you guys have seen the data across the board. Everyone kind of took a dip. Anytime there's a new assessment introduced, that typically happens.
Josh, if I
Yeah.
could just add one
Sure.
point there, I think something really key that he shared about the number of students at DOHS that are multilingual learners, 50%. That's a significant number, much higher than the rest of the district in secondary schools. And why is multilingual a priority for us? Well, that's a piece of data we should be paying attention to. If 50% of our students who need alternative support, a different high school setting, credit retrieval, what's the system not providing for them to find success at a comprehensive high school? So again, an important piece of data just about the N size, the number of kids requiring that kind of support.
And as you can see from 2017, I think that's about when I got there, we've kind of doubled in the ELO numbers. So again, we don't discourage that. We're there to help, and if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Our reading, this is STAR assessment. This is kind of what predicts how our kid's going to do on the assessment. We presently, in the fall, we had 3 kids at grade level. In the winter, we had 6 students that are at grade level. Obviously, we're taking this assessment again a 3rd time, so we hope that number to continue to increase in the area of math. This is the highest number of kids that we've ever had at grade level. In the fall, we were at 5, and this winter, we were at 12. We've never had that many students in the area of math. Remember, math it's an area of struggle for us at our school, and I give all the credit to our teachers, specifically Mrs. Davis, our math teacher, and all the hard work she's doing in that area as well. So STAMP assessment, many of you don't know what this is, but think of it as the WIDA, but in reverse. We're measuring the bilingual students and how much Spanish they know. So in this area, this assessment that we use OSSI money to pay for, we usually offer this once or twice a year. We've offered it 3 times this year. And you can see the comparison from the year 22. We had 22 students at the very beginning. We had 31 this last time that earned credit. If you look at the very bottom, we had 40 students who took this test. We pay for it, and only 3 students were not able to earn credit. So we highly encourage kids. It's like challenging a class when you go to college. So instead of sitting there, you take the test, and then you just take your credit. So out of all those 40 students, we were able to award 70 credits. So it's an average about every student's earning about 2 credits each that they can put on their transcript. So it's pretty big because it just moves them that much closer to graduation. So,
Josh, really quick.
Yes.
So does that mean that they're able to basically test out of these courses?
for Spanish, foreign language, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So if a student already had 1 credit and he comes, or she, and they take this test and they earn extra, that extra credit will put it into like an elective.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, it's free credit is exactly what it is.
And then is the test given in Spanish, or is this just for a Spanish credit? Like, is it, sorry, I'm trying to fully understand.
Yes, the
but
test is given in Spanish, yeah.
so could it be like for a science class, but they're gonna test out of science?
No, so it's a language acquisition assessment, so they're measuring reading, writing, speaking, and listening, just like the WIDA does,
Okay,
but we're doing it in reverse,
okay.
yeah. And both high schools have access to it.
Yeah, and why it makes so much sense in a place like Othello. So if you go back a slide to the STAR data, and you look at that data and you say, wow, there's a number of students that aren't at grade level, right? They're not able to pass the assessments. And then you go back a few other slides and you say, 50% of those kids are still identified as language deficient. They're still learning English. And so you think of those both as a deficit. Kid doesn't know English, the kid can't pass a test. But when you look at the other side of it, well, what does the kid bring to the table? What assets do they bring? Well, let's test them in Spanish, in language acquisition, not force them to sit through Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, but award those credits so that they can get caught up and fill their schedule with the other courses that they need. So it's just the other side of the student assets that we often don't look at in education.
Attendance data, this is again, This is just data that's relevant because of our OSSI goal. Obviously, we want students to show up. Our goal is always to be at 90% or better. And the way the state looks at this is they have to have 2 or fewer absences in a month. And if you walk into our room, there's that whiteboard by my office. We keep track on a daily basis. Whether students look at it or not, I don't know, but we keep track of it because it's important to us. This kind of concludes my presentation, but I wanted to say one thing. I want to give a special thanks to 2 staff members that are going to be moving on. And one of them is our English teacher, Mr. DeFau, who has single-handedly, literally, has improved our SBA English scores every year that I've been at Desert Oasis High School. And it's a lot of work because most kids don't come to school and say they're excited about reading and writing. So it's been a lot of work. And what he's done is several things outside the box, like changing up his entire novel selection so that he could find more culturally relevant novels. So we've appreciated everything he's done. I believe he's been at Desert Oasis for at least 7 years, so he's going to be moving on, so we appreciate him. And then secondly, I want to appreciate Mr. Kevin Alvarez, our paraprofessional and jack of all trades, because he's probably been in the classroom as a substitute teacher as much as he's been as a parapro, but he does anything and everything we've asked him to do. So I know he's going to be moving on, and so Adams County Juvenile Court has a good find there in Kevin. So I appreciate them. Again, I appreciate all my teachers, because without them, obviously, Desert Oasis High School does not exist. So this concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions that you guys might have. Thank you.
I have a bunch, kind of.
Go ahead.
Okay, when they're given the ESPA and the WIDA, are your students that need to able to take that in Spanish? Or does every student have to take those tests in English?
In English, yes.
That must be incredibly difficult when...
That's why Dr. Perez mentioned this. It's so important that we get kids to be fluent, or to be at, I wouldn't say at grade level, but like at a level of being able to be fluent in the English language, because what you're talking about, you have a double Achilles, right? I don't speak the language fluently yet, and then I got to take this state assessment that's in English. It's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, the WIDA assessment, even though it is in their language, the issue with that is the WIDA assessment is very much aligned with the SBA assessment. It's gotten harder. I've looked at that, and I bet you we have non-multilingual learners that could not pass that state assessment in the area of WIDA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is tough.
So it's English only?
Yes.
Okay. Is AVID something that's offered at Desert Oasis?
It is not currently offered, but I am familiar with AVID from the middle school, and I will tell you that we do a lot of AVID-like things, but not to a T. We don't do like the journal checks and like the weekly checks with journals, but the entire school is like an AVID culture. And each advisory class is like an AVID culture, but no, it's not currently offered at Desert Oasis High School.
Okay.
I think that's a really excellent question, and if you understand the history of AVID, it was developed by one teacher in one classroom in California with students not unlike Mr. Tovar's. And what she discovered was, if we provide the supports they need, if we make it feel like a family, if when they have the skills, we put them in AP courses, we make sure they maintain a GPA, all of those things, we partner them with a counselor. You put those things in place, kids can find success. So the AVID program, it's not there, but it's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we basically are like an AVID.
Well, I just know that when we were at our site visit and we asked the students, like, what's next for you? It seemed like almost all of them had a next step of something they wanted to do. I want to go to college. I want to go to community college. Like, whatever it was, they had a next step idea. And so sometimes AVID just really helps with that when students don't have that kind of support at home. But I mean, nobody's doing it better than you as far as like having students know that they have a leader who cares about them. So kudos to you for that. Going back to something that you touched on earlier, which was, it used to be, the goal was that these students came to Desert Oasis and then went back to the high school. Both during Cookies for Conversations when I was at your school and for our site visit, they don't want to go back. I mean, even if all the stars aligned and they had all the credits they needed and they whatever it took for them to be full-time back at OHS, they don't want to be back. Like, they love your school because of what you and these women and everyone who works at your school, this atmosphere that you've created, this avid atmosphere, this family that you provide for these kids, and it's just super admirable. So I don't know, it makes me emotional, but I love coming to your campus, and kudos to you for all the things that you do for these kids.
Yeah, thank you. I will say it's almost like a double-edged sword, because we create that vibe, but at the same time, we don't want kids to become complacent. We don't want kids to like not have that ambition to go to college, or a lot of our kids sometimes they don't think they can go to college. So I appreciate the efforts of our counselor lining up these college field trips, because we want kids, if they can just get a glimpse of what's outside Othello, that might hook them. Because for all of us, something encouraged us to go to college. And I know that college is not for everyone, but there's all different types of career and trades out there. So we just don't want our kids to set their goal low. We want to continue to set that bar high.
I love your school, Josh.
We will have a paraprofessional opening, so just so in case you want to know.
I seriously love your school. What was really nice is that all those kids have a story. Like, they all have a story, and they fit right into your school. And just like she mentioned about how they really want to stay in your school before, I feel like Desert Oasis was called Alps, right? And so when it was Alps, all the students wanted to go back to the high school, and now I feel like they really get the idea that this is a high school and they want to stay there. But I think that it has a lot to do with the staff and the people that are there. And I really do feel like you're the right person for that school. I see the way that you hold these kids accountable. You take, Priscilla with you to go and check on them at home. Like, that's a lot of commitment and a lot of time and effort. And I just think that that's so admirable. Like, I just love that about you, your staff. I can tell that, a lot of the parents are really loving their secretary. Christina is doing an amazing job. And it was so awesome being at your school site and just seeing some of the classrooms that we were going in. I want to go and spend a day at that business class that was there. Yeah. I loved it. So really, I don't know what more to say, because it really, it's a school that really impacts me, and every time that I go, I feel really sentimental and emotional, because you're doing some amazing work. All of you guys are doing amazing work, and those kids, I could tell that they feel like they have a purpose in life because they're in that school. So I really appreciate all the hard work.
Yeah, in addition to our staff that create this environment, I want to also thank Mrs. Silva, our lunch lady, and Mr. and Scooter, Mr. Lewis, as well for all that he does, and just how they interact with kids, because it goes miles for these kids.
I said a little bit to you when we had our site visit a couple weeks ago, but I want to say it again here in a public way. You have created an environment there that is giving respect to the students and expecting it in return. And we felt, as a board, nothing but respect from those kids with us being there. When we were in the classrooms, they were engaged, they were paying attention. And yes, they're kids, but you've created that culture there where they feel like they can be themselves, but there's also that expectation of how they need to behave to continue to move in the direction that they need to go. And I just applaud you for the work that you've done there, because it's very difficult and it's not for everybody, and you've done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I think it's an excellent place for them to be, and you have excellent staff. And what I could see with the kids is visiting with them, how much difference even 1 and 2 years has made, how they feel about it. And talking to a student, I asked him if he was a senior, and he goes, well, I'm going to come back next year. That's great. Get your 5th year in, because they're absorbing so much. And he goes, I just quite don't get this. But you all have helped them so much. It is a big place in all of our hearts that we've seen this. It's great that we have the opportunity to have two schools, two high schools, I mean.
Josh, with you and your staff, I think you've made Desert Oasis an envy to a lot of districts around us.
Yes. Oh.
And throughout the state of what you guys have did. And the culture that you have created with your students, that's not just a memory of high school, but forever lasting for them. And they're going to take those experiences and memories and remember that throughout their life. It's a great thing. I really appreciate what you guys have did there. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Go ahead.
I'm a local dairyman, Chris Baginski, and over the years, I've had a couple of your students actually milk for me, and they've been great kids, honorable kids. Actually, I adjusted my milking time so they could finish school and then come to my milking because I wanted them to finish their education. I always encourage that, and that's compliments to you and your school. I think it's a great thing. I'm just wondering, is there any way we can incorporate more ag? I know you don't have the facilities to do welding or carpentry, or is there any way you can? Is there grant money out there to at least introduce some of the kids to a whole opportunity? Because there's a shortage of plumbers, and there's going to be going forward. Not everybody needs that college education, but is there any way they can just introduce more of the trade world? I'm not saying you have to have all that in your facility, but if you just introduced it, because a couple of the kids that milk for me, I always asked them, what do you want to do? And they didn't know. So I said, hey, there's opportunity here on the dairy farm. You start out milking, and you work your way up the ladder to being a herd manager. And none of them have done it yet, but they've been just trying to just open their eyes to the whole world out there. So I just didn't know if there's any way we could, like your guitars, that's awesome, the fine arts, but we're in an ag community. Is there any way we can get a little more ag? I mean, even robotics in the ags is a huge, and it's coming, and then just another aspect to it. But congratulations.
It's a really good question. And one of the requirements about CTE funding, career and technical ed funding, which is what you're describing in the state of Washington, is that the opportunities you provide for students reflects the local economic need, the workforce need. So an idea like that, when it's brought to the advisory councils with our district CTE program, should say, hey, is drones for ag a need in our community? Is welding on irrigation systems a need in our, like those kinds of skills? So one of the exciting things at Othello High School that's happening, and we could think about how DOHS kids fit into that, is we're adding a third ag teacher this year. So the program's starting to be rebuilt. And it will take important comments like that and partnerships with people in the community to say, hey, you've got this third teacher, let's not make it all horticulture. We need this, we need this, we need this. And some of those people have industry experience, but now they're in classrooms, and maybe they're not out there every day learning what the real needs are. So absolutely room to grow. We have the staff that's coming. We'll be able to more efficiently utilize the Othello High School facility because we've been running imagine the guy he's been doing welding and woods. Well, he can only do one at a time. But with this third person, we can have someone doing welding, someone doing woods, someone doing ag science, right? And so just add some more depth to it, and maybe this is a way that we go. So appreciate the feedback, and I'll also share it with Amy Parrish, who's directing those programs.
In addition, just so the community knows, our kids do have access to CB Tech, and our students do have access to taking classes at the high school, whether it's English, ag classes, welding, or band or choir. So our kids are not excluded from the high school, and we have a great partnership with OHS. So yeah, it's very flexible.
One more question, kind of building off of Chris's question, is do you do, I know that the high school does, a career fair at their school. Does DOHS offer something like that where you have booths and you could have farmers come in or electricians or plumbers to come in and talk about different trades because there's a huge market for trades. College isn't the only answer.
Yeah, our school, our students are included with the Othello High School event. It's a community one, so we've been a part of that now for multiple years.
Okay.
And again, Ms. Tober is going to be taking a group of students tomorrow to the career fair up at Big Bend Community College as well. So,
Great.
yeah. We thought about doing that like in an evening event and bring in a few different types of resources to kind of expose our parents to it as well. Yeah, great suggestion. Thank you.
Well, if you did, let me know, and I'd love to be part of it.
Sounds good. And we do have that opening, Tilia.
Thank you very much, Josh. Next is upcoming events. Of course, tomorrow we got the preschool site visit, 7:30, tomorrow morning at the preschool. Also like to remind everybody about serving the lunches throughout the week for the staff.
Is anybody
Bless
signed
you.
up for Ludokaga tomorrow?
I'm going to be there
Okay,
for Ludokaga tomorrow.
perfect. I didn't see somebody signed up. I just wanted to make sure.
Is there anything else that should be on that list? And also remind everybody about our board retreat. That will be here on Thursday. Okay, we'll go on to board self-assessment. Great recognition tonight for the FBLA.
Mm-hmm. Great presentation by DOHS too.
I agree, that presentation was good, and it was not all, it was very honest with all of the good and all of the things that they are working on for reaching for goals.
Mm-hmm.
Is tonight Gael's last night? Oh, okay.
I love seeing that our new student rep, future student rep is here in the audience with us.
Yep. And that we had public comment.
And normally during our meetings, we don't take questions from the public during it, but I felt tonight's question was a great opportunity for us to let everybody know what we have got going on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great.
With good ideas too. Sharon wants to say well-planned agenda, but she just hasn't yet.
True.
That's
A well-planned
always
agenda.
her go-to.
They do a good job
Yeah,
planning it.
I'm teasing.
Any more on that list?
Nope.
Okay. Then at this time, the board will recess into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee. No action will be taken following the executive session. In 3 minutes, we will recess for 3 minutes into Pete's